Vigorous masturbation talk.
Missed opportunities, man.
Yeah. Well, speaking of vigorous masturbation, comes naturally. We are.
Joe.
Mike.
I am Cody. What up, motherfuckers? How y'all doing today?
What up?
Good.
Hey, Mike, did you watch any of the highlights from NXT last night?
Yeah, I saw some on the Twitter, but
Did you see that sociopath Dexter Loomis?
yeah,
Did you see what he did during his interview?
nah.
He drew a caricature of him with a tied up. Can you see it?
That's creepy.
Yeah. He didn't say a word. He just sat there and drew that on his easel while she's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And it's him with all of Undisputed Era tied up in the back of his truck.
I didn't know he was one of those guys drawing caricatures at like Disneyland and shit.
Did you not see his first day when he debuted? He had this beef with that Rick guy, the super yoked dude that looks like Macho Man.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he had this beef, and like basically he kept drawing pictures of him as different characters and putting them in the locker room, and he kept getting angry. So like this is the beginning of the interview.
That guy looks like a psychopath.
Yeah, right. But earlier during the tag match with Undisputed Era, he's just in the crowd, just staring blankly at Roderick Strong and like Bobby Fish and everybody, and they're like, "Quit staring at us!" And like it was hilarious, dude. It was so funny. He's just sitting there, not blinking, not breaking eye contact. I was like, "Oof, man, this dude is gonna eat somebody, and not in a good way."
Of NXT, Joe, did you watch that video that Cody sent last night of one of our favorite tag teams returning?
No, I haven't watched any of that.
It's just their entrance, and they have a space themed entrance, and I was laughing so hard.
Nice.
They're pretty great. They came out in shiny, tight space suits.
Yeah, with helmets and everything.
Space suits.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. You should watch it whenever you get a chance.
How about now?
How about now? The link is in your text messages. And while you're watching that, we will talk about some other stuff, like the fact that AMC movie theaters may not reopen ever again.
I'm surprised. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
they're rough right now.
So apparently,
Really?
their whole operating model is that they take all the money they earn from the holiday season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a big time, obviously. And they do upgrades and they do all these things and use all the money they would have earned from the lackluster opening of the year to pay for operating costs, right?
Wow.
The problem is there was no beginning of the year box office. And so they are about to file their yearly whatevers at a loss of $2.1 billion.
Yeesh.
Yeah. So right now they're in the process of finalizing their bankruptcy, filing under Chapter 11 so they can at least try to stay afloat because they got it.
Yeah, they're just restructuring right now. They're not really going out of business.
So they got it, but it looks like from what insiders have said, including the actual CEO, I believe it was, that it may not be enough to keep opening, to stay open, because of they're trying to stay open to try to make sure Tenet can launch in theaters, right?
Right.
On July
would be something big.
12th or whatever it is. The problem is if they do that, they have to lower capacity because of the whole social distancing thing.
Right.
And they may not be able to actually make money in their theaters enough to stay open.
I can understand that because you would have to pretty much to get 6 feet in between people. You'd have to at the least have 2 seats.
Yep.
Unoccupied.
And if it's one of the
So it's
theaters
not
that
even-
doesn't have theater seats, it's actually probably 3 seats.
Yeah, it's not even like you'd be reducing capacity by half. You'd almost be reducing capacity
By
to
3/4.
1/3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, dude.
Yeah. That is bad.
Yeah, so I think... Go ahead, Mike.
But we were talking about this, me and Jen earlier, because I saw the same story about AMC, and we were saying like the movie studios will have to help out somehow. Like they're gonna have to throw some type of something, anything that the theater's way, because like if AMC goes out, I can't imagine any theater business, and I don't even know what the other major ones are outside of Harkins. You know what the other ones across the country are?
Yeah, the larger ones, not the independents.
Yeah, but like none of them can be doing, like they literally took away their entire source of income with no movies. But movie studios tend to lose a lot of money if they don't have movie openings anymore and can't bank on big weekends and big ticket sales. So they're gonna have to come in some type of like help each other in some way. I don't know exactly how it would work. If it'd be like, studios going like exclusive with different theater outlet. I don't know, depending on market size or what. But there's going to have to be something to help with this, because otherwise, I doubt any major movie theater company can survive this.
Do you know my thought, though?
What's your thought?
Wouldn't it be crazy as if Netflix bought AMC out? They've been wanting theaters.
Yeah.
It would definitely be crazy.
Yeah, unlike most movie companies, movie production companies who haven't actually had anything in theaters to actually garner revenue, Netflix has been making hand over fist lately, because not only have they always been making money, but their audience hasn't gone away. If anything, it's increased.
Yeah, the movie theater wouldn't be their main source of income. So.
Exactly. So it wouldn't be
It'd be a way to keep their shit in Oscar contention, basically.
It would be the way they could get into actual Oscar contention, because they could actually put their movies in theaters without having issues of how are we going to do this. They could literally fall into that whole thing of we just put it on one screen at half our theaters in every major market. You know what I mean? Because there's 1,000. I think they said there's 1,000 AMC movie theater locations. They average somewhere between anywhere from 12 to 20 screens. So if you average that out, that's somewhere around 15 to 17 screens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have one of those, right? So that's set, let's say average 17,000 screens, right? So if you have one of those, that's 7,000 screens you could get on. That would easily hit the mark of having what you need to be in Oscar contention. And they would be saving something that needs for the rest of the studios, right? So then they could use that as a point. And they could move forward with other plans. They could have those big openings and have their, big release movies be only available at AMC theaters.
Yeah.
It's a hell of an idea. And it goes to a couple years ago when they were putting that around, they're like, hey, we should open our own theaters. I'm like, well, or you could get a whole the largest chain of movie theaters for bargain basement costs right now, and be ready to fly.
You don't have to build anything out. It all exists.
Yep. You don't have to change the name. You don't have to do any of it.
The only bummer part about that is AMC sucks.
Well, granted, yes, they do suck.
And I don't want to have to...
They're a nationwide chain.
Yeah. They're the only nationwide chain that I can really think of that's in every major market. Like, anytime you go somewhere, you're going to see an AMC theater.
Yeah, because Harkins has been on that slow, steady climb.
Yep.
For years.
But they're still only like Arizona, California, think New Mexico or something like that.
A bunch in Colorado now too. Like they're in a few more than they used to be, but they're at least here in Cali, like they're the best ones. Like nobody I've ever talked to says like, oh, I'd rather go to AMC unless they had that stupid movie pass thing.
Yeah.
Which would be another thing. Imagine if Netflix could offer some sort of weird. I doubt that they would, because it would be kind of like mingling the two companies together. But imagine like, hey, I subscribe to Netflix, a certain tier, and now I can go see a movie once a month or something like that, with included in that tier. Or
they could, because AMC has the A-list thing with the stubs,
right?
So they could easily have a subscription thing where, hey, like you pay, we'll say $30 a month, right? You get your Netflix subscription and you get your AMC A-list pass, and be able to see your movies, however you want.
Yeah.
You think Netflix would make money off of that though, or it'd just be a means to get more award recognition and more like prestige as a production company?
They wouldn't make money right away. They would make money later down the road as they start being able to put their own movies in theaters. You know what I mean? Like exclusively having their box office stuff. Not even just award stuff. Just, hey, here's this Chris Hemsworth movie that would have premiered on this day on Netflix. Hey, same day, you also have a chance to see it in theaters for 2 weekends. Or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Or 2 weeks.
Yeah, that could be the move, huh? Just delay all their stuff by 2 weeks.
Yeah, you could have like, hey, hey, go see this in theaters. It's definitely something you could want to watch in a theater. You get 2 weeks to watch it. Otherwise, on this day, it's on Netflix. You can watch it at home.
This is weird because it's gonna change the way movie production companies kind of go about business too. Because like, we were kind of talking about this, like an opening weekend's not an opening weekend anymore.
Nope,
you know what I mean?
Month.
If you're cut down to a third of your audience for however long, and I can't imagine that being a forever thing, honestly, but I could imagine it through most of next year. Because basically we'd have to get to the point where the COVID-19 thing is essentially treatable like the flu is, because I mean a bunch of people die of the flu every year, but we can treat it so no one really freaks out.
And so hundreds of people die a week.
Yeah, but until we get to the point where it's like the coronavirus thing is probably going to stick around for a long time, but if we can get to the point where we can treat it and test it much more easily, and like when that happens, we'll probably go back to full capacity with like some slight variations on stuff, or at least close to full capacity. Maybe they have like 500 seat maxes on like new buildings or whatever, or things like that. But then we can kind of get back to normal. But yeah, like the whole thing's gonna be like, could you imagine if this happened 2 weeks before Endgame came out? You know what I mean? And like how Marvel built for a decade to that moment and then had their audience ripped away.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Or only had their audience like at a third power of what they were expecting. Like it would have
kind of devastating.
Yeah, it would have fucking killed them. Like it would have, like they would have made it at that point.
Yeah.
It's Disney and everything, but like other production companies right now, like Universal, like they had a bunch of stuff in the pipeline that just got like, I know it's a shit movie, but their Fast and the Furious movie was going to make them $500 million easy.
Yeah.
And then that just goes away till next year. and they're not making anything new. So they just take this year of loss out of nowhere. Yeah, it's weird, man. I hope it goes to full normal sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I miss the movies. This is the longest I've ever gone in my entire life without going to the movie theater. Like, I'm not even exact. I was thinking about it the other day. This is the longest I've ever gone without going to the movie theater my whole life.
But have you gone to get your giant bag of popcorn yet, though?
A couple times.
Yeah,
You know how Jen is.
Yeah.
She won't get that popcorn.
She gonna get that popcorn. Know what I mean?
We thought about doing that too.
I wanted the nacho one, but then I was like, I gotta stop being fat right around the same time the nacho pack came out, and I was like, well,
That ain't gonna help.
Right?
maybe my big once a month cheat day where I just go ape shit. I might just choose that for my meal for a day.
He's gonna eat a bag of nacho a day.
Yeah, with like however many packs of those little nacho cups they give you.
He's just doing shots of fucking jalapenos from a little cup and little shots of fucking cheese and shoving chips in his
Stuffing
mouth.
crumbs into my face.
He's like, ah.
It's gonna happen.
Shout cheat day all day.
Yeah.
It's good times. Good times, great oldies.
Right?
Let's see. What else we got going on? Does look like July will be the restart of a bunch of TV and movie productions. Not so much in America, but outside of America.
Yeah, like New Zealand where they have everything under control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's all move to New Zealand.
I think that might be the problem, though. If we all move to New Zealand, that actually might cause a problem.
No, I mean like us.
Oh, okay.
Just us three. Yeah.
Just us.
Not all the Americans. This place is a fucking sinking ship. We gotta bail while we still can, guys.
It really is.
Did you guys see the meme about the astronauts, the ones that just went up in the?
I've seen a bunch of memes about the astronauts leaving us behind like assholes.
There's this one that says,
Right.
"I'd like to congratulate SpaceX and NASA, but especially and they listed their names for getting off this planet before it fucking implodes." I was like, "Yep, all right,
Yep.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong."
Nope.
There is some shit news going on, that's for sure.
A lot of sports stuff starting to pop up. I know you guys don't care that much, but basketball's coming back.
I did see. Do you see where they're going to play the rest of the NBA season?
Disney World.
Disney World.
Really? I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah.
I heard hockey was aiming for July, bringing some teams back.
Basically just starting the playoffs, I think, with hockey was how they were talking. Pretty close to the same thing with basketball because their seasons are almost identical in terms of like length and playoff start. So the NBA, there was only, I think, a couple teams had like 11 games left in the season. Most of them were under 10. But there was still a lot of positioning left for playoff seeding.
Mm-hmm.
So what they decided to do is they basically made a deal with Disney in Orlando, and they're gonna ship 22 teams and their families and basically make a giant quarantine bubble with those guys and their families. And Disneyland's the best place to do it because there's tons of hotels, there's tons of rooms, they have the TV production to televise these games. And
don't they also have a basketball arena down there or something?
Yeah, but they're not going to be using the Magic's arena. Everything's going to be on the Disney World.
I thought Disney had like some weird basketball arena or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm not exactly. I know they have stuff like, but they're also building like temporary, like permanent, like temporary, but like pretty sturdy like gymnasiums too.
Yeah.
So what they're gonna do is they decided to take 22 teams, and they're gonna play eight games. They're gonna have a couple scrimmage stuff to get ready in like a month of like a training camp to get back into shape and everything. So there's not like mass injuries in the first game. So they took 22 teams, and to give the teams that weren't mathematically eliminated from the playoffs yet a outside shot of getting into the playoffs. So they're going to play 8 games, and the best records, like the guys who are locked in are already locked in, those teams, but like the bottom tier teams, those games are going to decide whether if they win enough to make a situation where they have a play-in game to get to the actual postseason, And then once those 8 games and whatever the playing game is, they'll have their seeding set for the actual playoffs, and then they'll just play playoffs. So they're taking 22 teams when there's only 31 or 32 teams in the league. So like the guys that were way far behind, they're just like sorry, basically.
I mean, yeah, you have to.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting because teams like New Orleans Pelicans have this young superstar, super freak athlete named Zion Williamson.
Yeah,
Who he's a rookie, but he was injured the majority of the year, and he like just got back before the season stopped. And with him, he was destroying people, like putting up rookie numbers that people haven't seen in years. So now he has an outside shot of getting that team in the playoffs, which is good. And then like strategically looking at it, it was funny that the teams that are getting invited that weren't playoff teams all have a marketable superstar on their team.
Of course.
So they set that number at 22, and it capped them just to the point where the Suns make it with a young Devin Booker, who is one of their big rising stars. So that's exciting. Then the Pelicans can make it with that Zion Williamson kid. Then I think Portland made it with Damian Lillard. So like the teams that they're letting come that were kind of an outside shot at the playoffs all have like
a young superstar.
Star. Yeah, like a big star on their team. So that should help ratings, but not like ratings is going to be like at this point, any type of like real actual live sporting event that people care about is going to draw damn near Super Bowl numbers right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane. And then football is delayed, but they seem to be operating that everything's going to be cool. And they, worst case scenario, they just play without fans, which is going to be weird. But football makes 90% of their income from their TV deal anyway. So they're not too worried about that for at least a year. Baseball is the one that's still kind of fucking up
in the air of what they want to do.
Yeah, it's that's a weird one because historically the league and the players union have never gotten along, like ever, and they're probably the most like head buddy of all the major sports. And so there was even a weird proposal of talking about just playing like blitzing a 50 game season and going to the playoffs. And I don't know if you know this number, but it's like what, 160? How many regulars?
Yeah, it's really high. It's like 160 something games.
Yeah, and they're talking about going down to 50 and then starting the playoffs after 50. And I was like, if you can't figure out more than 50 games, like I don't give a fuck who wins that season, because that's
162.
Right?
Yeah, 162 games going down to 50. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Like you have players go on like a 30 game slump all the times in the MLB.
And that would be more than half your season there.
Yeah, and then like you just get one player hits a rough spot to start the season, which some of them start slow and they're fucked. And then like your best pitcher is only at that point only pitching 10 times,
maybe
something like that.
Yeah, instead of 30, as opposed to that's gonna be weird as shit. Nobody's gonna give a fuck about that champion if they only do 50 games. Like I think, like you guys need to at least bust out 100 games or at least half the season, like because you can just cut every series down by half, because at least in your conference you play every team four different series. You just go to 2, and at least everybody kind of gets roughly the same ideal. But yeah, it's gonna be baseball might not happen this year. That's the one that looks like it might just not be a thing.
I just found an article from today
of, where they were going to play, because I know originally they were saying that they were going to do it in Arizona because they wanted to do the whole bubble thing, what basketball was thinking about doing. And I know that over in Europe, the football, soccer as we call it here in the States, was doing as well, and that they're actually, they have all the teams in one area, and the whole idea is you just quarantine those teams. Didn't really work for one of the teams that they had there. But to your point of the Players Association, it was an interview that they were doing with, I can't remember his name. It was a while ago, where he was just basically saying, I don't want to, go to Arizona and have to live in Arizona for the extent of how many ever games that they're going to have to play, and not be able to see my family and go back and forth and whatnot.
What even that was a big issue, and I think that kind of like died pretty quick, because the ideal was Arizona, since we have here one major league stadium where they can hold like the big games, like rotate like round robin style, and then Salt River Fields, which is the best minor league stadium in the country, and then a bunch of other stadiums all over the state or all over the city or county,
because they're used for spring trainings.
Yeah, because most of the teams do spring training out here anyway. Like I think 80% of the teams are here. The other ones are in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
So it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to imagine all the teams in the Phoenix area at once, because it almost happens every springtime anyway. But the other thing too is, because of that weird relationship with the league and the players union, you had a lot of players, they were trying to figure out pay, because they knew they weren't doing a full season. But a lot of players say, is like, well, I don't care if we're doing a full season, I still want full pay. And the league's like, well, if you're only playing half the games that you were projected to play anyway, like, you shouldn't get full paychecks. And the fact that we don't have any ticket sales coming in this season, or even merch sales, concession sales, anything that, like, all the other things that generate revenue.
Right.
We can't give you a full contract for a 50 game season. And so a lot of players were like, well, fuck you then. And people were like, whoa, well, you can just not play at all. And a lot of the owners would honestly just rather not play at all, because they set to lose less money washing the whole season than they do having to pay players partial month, or like 75-80% of their contract for what's going to come out to like 20% of their income this year.
So you're saying right now players aren't even being paid?
No.
Like if no season happens, they're not being paid.
They don't get paid this year. And the other confusing part is whether or not, and I think it's slightly different depending on the contract, but the other part is if they don't pay, does your contract just void this year, or does it delay back to next year?
Oh, I gotcha.
And that's also a thing they're trying to figure out, because on both sides, there's players who would rather it just push back to next year and continue their year length. But then there's a lot of players that were supposed to be free agents next year that would rather just not, like, take this year as a L and be a free agent to get that bigger contract. And teams are on the same thing too. So like teams and players aren't in agreement of how they want to structure that contract next year, which is also a big issue for them all. Yeah, they hate each other so much, and I don't think they're going to get anything worked out.
Well, here's an article on CBS Sports from 5 hours ago. Updated an hour ago, but originally published 5 hours ago. It says, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to summarize. There's two parts that are to it. So the Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Players Association are currently in their fourth week of talks.
Yeah.
The MLBPA, that's the Players Association.
The Players Union. Yeah.
Players Union, yep. They planned their plan features a 114 game schedule and a regular season that would have stretched through October. The league, meanwhile, submitted a plan for an 82 game season and wanted players making the most money to take a massive salary cut. Then it says, while agreement has yet to be reached, there are some notable components of various proposals that the two sides most likely will agree on for the 2020 season, and they include this: extensive health and safety protocols for players and team personnel, larger rosters, potential 30-man active rosters, and a 20-player taxi squad, universal designated hitter, regional schedule to reduce travel. Example, teams in the AL East would only play each other, and teams in the NL East obviously would play each other. And an extended playoffs, possibly with 14 total teams in the postseason. Then, as of an hour ago, today being June the 4th, apparently, or yesterday, it was announced that the MLB rejected the players' union's agreement, and today they're in talks again for a new revised one from MLB, but not from the players because they refuse to do a counteroffer.
Yeah, 4 weeks in there. They both have offers that the other one don't like, and they're not.
Yeah.
There's a couple things with each one of those proposals. One, the 114 game season that the players union want. They want that because it capitalizes. They get the majority, if not all, of their contract.
Yep. It probably
So
fulfills enough of how many games you must play to get your pay.
Exactly. The problem with that is you can't stretch the season into October because all your East Coast teams are open-aired stadiums.
And will freeze to
and
death.
You can't trust players to play in the snow. Not baseball. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So they have to figure out another set.
A white ball in snow?
Yeah. So, but then you go to that.
They get paid enough. They can get over it.
Joe, I'm gonna throw your AirPods in some snow and see if you can find them.
So the other thing that's weird, and I am 99%, I usually side with players in any type of argument against owners in any sport because the owners are the billionaires
and they're scum.
Making all the money is off the millionaire players. So I 99% of the time I side with players. In this case, it is kind of silly to think, hey, our league is missing revenue from, again, like I said, merch, tickets, concessions. These are big components of what usually makes up the league's income. TV ratings are probably going to go up, but not enough to counteract that stuff. And then the 82-game season gets them out before the winter hits too hard in those bigger cities. And the whole players want a massive, owners want players to take massive pay cuts. They want them to take prorated contracts. So it's like, that kind of makes sense. Like, it sucks because I hate agreeing with any part of owners because they're greedy assholes 99.9% of the time. But in this case, it's like, as a normal person looking at it, it's like, well, you guys need to get paid for the half the season that you're playing, or you don't get paid at all. Like, I don't know, man. It seems weird. Like, I won't be mad at the players if they decide, like, fuck that, no, we're not doing it. But I'm not mad at the owners for suggesting that, we're only playing half the season. You only get half your contract. And it's not like they're making $14 an hour and they're getting chopped down to $7 an hour. You know what I mean? Like, even, like, I'm more concerned for, like, the low end players or, like, those borderline minor league, major league call up sit downs. But a way to alleviate that is just set a minimum that they're going to get paid no matter what. Like, you could raise their ceiling and guarantee them that for the whole year. But, like, I don't feel terribly bad for an Albert Pujols who's set to make $40 million this year, only making $20 million for only playing half the season. Like, I'm not going to feel super bad for him.
One less Bentley.
Because the players that it affects the most are the players who have already got their big paydays. So it seems... I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to ask the players not to take their contract, but also there's nothing in these contracts or in the CBA or the agreement that the union and the owners had to take into account a global pandemic that cancels their season. So they're all operating off of there's no blueprint anywhere in their history to deal with this before. So people really hate each other right now with the MLB.
Yeah.
Well, and plus, who pays for the people that keep up the fields, who do all the other stuff that needs to be done?
Yeah, those are teams.
Yeah,
it's and no matter what, everyone's taking a loss this year. Like, everyone's taking a loss this year. It's just what percentage of loss are you willing to take? Do you just want to fucking scratch it and start next year, or do you want to get some of that money back? It's a very, very odd situation, because the thing about like the NBA is their best players want to finish the season because their best players are players that are have an opportunity to win a championship, and championship still means a lot to their legacy. Like LeBron wants to play because he knows his window is closing on being the type of player that can carry his team to a title. So he knows if he loses this year, he's only got one more year left, really honestly speaking, of where he's one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world. Giannis is a young up-and-comer, and he's going to be great for a long time, but he knows he has a good shot to get out of the East this year because his team's better than anybody else in the Eastern Conference, and he wants that first title to like get it out of the way and cement the fact that he's one of the best players in the world. And then you go to like Kawhi and Paul George and with the Clippers, they're like, we have a shot. We only have 2-year contracts with this team. We don't know where we're going to be at after next year. So like the NBA had a better shot because the best players wanted to play. The MLB is in a weird position because the best players don't want to play and they don't want to take that pay cut. So yeah, it's very, very it's gonna be very rough for him.
Interesting. Sportsball is definitely in a weird place.
Definitely. I found that stadium, by the way, that I was talking about. It's the ESPN ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex.
Oh yeah. I know what that one is.
Yeah, that's near Orlando, Florida. This thing is fucking huge.
Yeah, they'll have a lot of the Globetrotter games there when they're there.
Yeah, it's 220 acres.
Yeah,
and if you look it up and just look at the pictures of it, it's actually a shit ton of baseball diamonds.
Yeah. But
when looking at basketball stuff, it doesn't really. I don't know. Is there a different size in college courts than NBA courts?
Nah, sideline to sideline should be the same. The dimension on
the college stuff, but they don't really mention any.
The college stuff is like 3-point lines a little bit different. The paint is slightly different. Little things like that, but that's just easy floor replace kind of stuff. Everyone has a replaceable floor, so
you have a replaceable floor.
That's true, I do.
Boom, got him. Fucking burnt. Trying to find a good picture to send to you, but this thing does not want to fucking. Oh, there it goes. Haha, fuck you. Copy image.
I bet they didn't have like football fields and.
You could convert some of those over.
You probably could convert some of them over, and then put some hockey rinks in those arenas.
Hell yeah, dog.
You just play all sports from there.
Whatever this, well, you'll see in a second here. Let me drop
Sports World.
Sports World.
I'm going to go to Sports World, guys. Wouldn't that be dope?
Just another section of Disneyland.
If you were like a mega rich dude and you could like pay for the, like, say they all come together and they're all these sports are happening at Disney World, at this complex, but they're taking like, hey, we have 50 spots and it costs $50 million and all the rich people who are really into it can just go there and like they can go watch every sport every day. Be fucking crazy with like great seats.
That's gnarly. That's a really good breakdown of what it looks like.
Yeah. There was a link from their website to this other website that had this picture. I was like, what? Okay. Nice. Whatever. It's pretty nuts, right? Like, that thing is pretty crazy. You looking at it, Mike?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this thing is like fucking sports ball heaven.
They're gonna need, but I know they're building more basketball courts because they're gonna have to have multiple games going on, like either at the same. They won't have any games going on at the same time, but they'll have practices and stuff.
Yeah,
for the other teams because they want to plan it out where every game is televised. So, but you're gonna have to have multiple locations for that to work. And so I know ESPN is sending their people down, like their production people, like the people who are in charge of like set up cameras and angles and audio, all that shit. And TNT is sending some of their people, and ABC is sending some of their people, and they're all working together to get a couple of the areas with like cameras and mics everywhere. And then they're gonna have commentators, a couple that actually go there and stay for the whole time, and a couple that are going to be broadcasting via satellite,
Kind of like the
for like the
Olympics.
halftime shows and stuff. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm more the thing that would interest me the most, and if you've ever played basketball or like even high school, college, been to college games or like smaller college games or seen open runs with like good players, basketball is the sport that lends itself the best to a crowdless sport. One, because you feed off the crowd in every sport. Like you take that away, it's gonna suck. But minus that, there's less people. It's more of a game of momentum and everything like that. And the best part about it, if you have no crowd and they mic the floor, we'll get to hear the players talk shit. And all they have to do is air it on a 10-second delay to bleep anything, and it's gonna be fucking amazing. Because I've been to open gyms with ex pros before. I've been to open gyms with current college players, current D1 players at different times in my life, and the shit talking that happens between them is the most entertaining thing that it's gonna be better than the game itself. To hear like LeBron talking shit to like James Harden is going to be the best thing in the world. And I hope they just mic the floor and let them run with that. Or hearing coaches yell out orders of like, hey, don't jump out on that. Don't jump out on Giannis at the 3-point line. He can't fucking shoot threes. Settle back and protect the, like shit like that. That'll piss off the other players. It's going to be so amazing. It's going to be easily the best thing ever.
Not going to lie. That's an aspect of the game that I haven't even thought of. Yeah.
Ooh, dude, it's gonna be so good if they do that. Because like there's some reports of them like pumping in canned crowd noise, and I was like, you fucking do that, I will get so angry. You need to have that
like
shit.
a shitty sitcom.
Yeah, you need to have that shit. I want to hear the bounce of the basketball, the sneakers squeaking on the court, and people yelling at each other to fuck off. Like that's all I want out of the rest of this season.
We can make money by giving like if you subscribe to like the NBA like subscription service.
Yeah.
You can
I know
get
where
like
you're going with this.
get the unedited version.
Yes.
Yeah,
bitch.
man, I'd pay for that just for the fucking laughs.
Hell yeah.
I'd be like, yes, I want to hear someone fucking call someone a terrible fucking name and realize that shit, people heard me say it.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good, dude.
So that brings me to, I was going to bring that up as well. I wonder how their streaming services would be affected by this, because obviously they used to do blackouts during home games. Are they just going to air every game now?
Yeah, they're just going to air every game. In terms of the league
It'd
pass,
be really shitty if they decided to black that out.
I haven't looked. Like, they haven't released anything because today the vote passed. You know, but I can't imagine them blacking out on League Pass, blacking out markets, because the only reason you blacked out markets is because you wanted people to go to the game.
Yeah.
So without the option of it, if they still did it, it would counteract everything they originally had blackouts for. But most of the games should be nationally televised anyway. Most of the games will be on TNT, ESPN, and ABC. Because they're starving for content so much, and so they've already in talks to tweak their deal. And so like TNT will have a double header like twice a week. ESPN will have a double header twice a week kind of thing, and like ABC will have like 2 games a week, something like that. Like they've already kind of talked about that. So we're like, because the playoffs doesn't, like, once they get to the playoffs, they go the same package they've always had, where pretty much every game is televised, or every game is televised. But it's the 8 games leading up to that is like a little tricky, because a lot of those teams didn't have any national TV scheduled games. But because that every station, every network right now is willing to shell out the extra cash for live content, because they can't there's nothing else live right now, and live is what always does the biggest numbers and pulls in the biggest ad revenue. They'll work out a deal pretty good. And the NBA has really good working relationships with all their people. It's, as of right now, it's probably the best league in terms of like business partnerships between TV, between players union and league owners. Like, it's probably the most comfortable, well-oiled relationship between all the other major sports right now. So I don't see that being an issue at all. I could see baseball fucking it up.
It sounds like they're about ready to.
I can see football having some issues too, but I don't see an issue with anything else.
And we really haven't talked about hockey that much. I'm trying to look for something right now on it, but it to me it sounds like they're still aiming for July, and they're just going to do the playoffs, which it sounds like the Coyotes are one of the teams that would make the playoffs. So I'm really happy about that, but I haven't heard anything about how, where they're going to play, how they're going to do it.
You know what's funny about the NBA taking 22 teams? It'd be the top 22 teams and leaving the bottom whatever, like 9 or 10 or whatever out. Is the Suns were at 21 on that list, and the initial report that released is they were thinking about just doing top 20. And when I read that, I instantly looked up the stats as 1 through 32. And I was scrolling down and I saw the Suns at 21. I was like, you fuckers. I was so mad. I was like, this is the most Suns thing to ever happen to the Suns. The season gets canceled in the middle of the season, and they bring back every team except for the Suns right before them. It would have been brutal.
I couldn't imagine they'd be only like maybe one win away from being the 20th team too.
Yeah, it would have been close.
They're like, oh, we changed our mind. We're going 20. Fuck.
That'd be a bummer.
Mike's like, you miserable motherfuckers.
The weird thing too is I have no illusions that like the Suns really have their work cut out for themselves to try to actually get to that playing game and get to the playoffs. And even if they get to the playoffs, it's going to end ugly for them. But it's just so nice to know that like they at least get to play a couple more games, and because they have so many young guys, and the fact that the season just kind of stopped as they're like getting healthy and getting their team together was such a fucking bummer. So at the very least, they get to play, and I know that like, well, at least you'll see if they're in shape and taking care of themselves. Because that's the other thing nobody's talking about right now is I guarantee you
are these players ready to play?
There's 2 or 3 players, like big name players, that are not fucking ready to go right now. Because there's a couple of them are fucking lazy. Like, lazy in the sense of pro athlete lazy, not like lazy like I am lazy. You know what I mean? Because you can give me 4 years, I'm not gonna fucking be able to run a mile. But like Joel Embiid is a great player for the Philadelphia 76ers and is notorious for starting the season very slow because he's about 25 pounds overweight every season. And so when he's not allowed to go to his team facility for 2 months, I am so excited to see what he looks like when the season starts. And then there's another player named James Harden who the last year or so, he's come in like game shape, ready to go. But prior to that, he's another guy that was notoriously took till about the All-Star break before he was in full season mode, which is halfway through the season, which is pretty sketchy. And his big thing is he's a big strip club guy.
Oh God! And
I was like, well, at least the strip clubs were closed, so he couldn't have done that. So hopefully,
drive-throughs.
Yeah. So hopefully he said, but there's gonna be a couple players. I'm gonna be so excited to see which players are the ones that like didn't do anything during the time off and come back in really bad shape.
It's fucking collapse in the middle of the game.
To watch, yeah.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
Good times, he said.
So I think on that note, we done. Everybody else got anything? Anything crazy?
No, there was really nothing else that I could see. This past week has been mostly the other stuff going on in the world.
Yeah.
I have one thing I just want to put out into the universe, and I don't know if you guys know this yet or not, but I did find a movie called Collision Course on HBO Max, which is a movie starring Jay Leno and that guy who played Mr. Miyagi.
You've never seen Collision Course?
No, I've seen it,
but
the fact that it's on HBO Max makes me happy, and I'm excited to watch it tomorrow. Well should you guys.
The scene where he does the double leg drop kick through the windshield?
I don't remember anything about
it. Fuck you. Go watch it. Sorry,
but
Joe, go ahead.
Jay Leno's a cop.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
I think I have actually seen this now that
it's amazing.
That he was a cop.
And
I remember seeing this now.
On the Jay Leno side of things, also Night Shift is also available on HBO Max.
There you go.
Which is I believe it was a TV movie, if I'm not mistaken. A movie made about the story of when Johnny Carson left the Tonight Show and what went into deciding who was going to get the Tonight Show, Letterman or Leno. And there's these guys who play Leno and Letterman, and they look fucking ridiculous. And that movie's also on HBO Max. So, if anything, that's well worth your $15 for the month.
Is it called Night Shift? I thought it was called. Is it Late Night? No, what's that one called?
I think it's called Night Shift. Because I know the other.
Night Shift is a Ron Howard movie.
I know, but I think they share the same name. The Late Shift. The Late Shift.
The Late Shift. Okay, yeah, that's what I was like. Yeah, that makes more sense.
It's a movie about like everybody that was trying to get that Tonight Show spot and like the weird dealings that. It's a trash ass movie. I've actually seen that like 4 or 5 years ago. I watched it again.
Oh, it's real bad.
It's real bad, and the guys who play Leno and Letterman just look so stupid. Like the guy has a fake chin, right?
Yeah, fake chin, fake nose
for Leno. And the guy who plays Letterman has fake teeth.
Yeah.
Give him those old school Letterman teeth. And it looks real trashy. So also watch that. You'll not like it at all.
Originally that aired on HBO. That's why it's on there. And was released in 1986, right?
Kathy Bates won an award for that movie, right?
I'm sorry, 1996. Yeah, Kathy Bates played Helen Kushnick. Ridiculous. That movie is so terrible.
Yeah, HBO Max has like such a weird collection of movies on there. I ran across that, and I'm trying to find it now. I can't remember the name of the movie. It was that weird like horror cat people movie.
Skinwalkers, the Stephen King one? Or not Stephen King one,
I think it was called Cat People. I think I know what you're talking about.
What the where it's the son and mom who like are freaky together?
Yes, that one.
Yeah, it's Skinwalkers? No, that's a different one.
Actually, Cat People might be right.
Yeah, it's called Cat People. It was
a 1982 American erotic horror. Yeah, that's on there.
They got some weird ones, man. I'm excited to.
So weird.
To ruin my whole day tomorrow. I'm gonna have a day off tomorrow that's just gonna be spent with large amounts of trash movies. Anybody want to come over?
Trash movies, you say? Or awesome movies.
Also that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also that.
Yeah.
One man's trash is another man's great movie.
Oh, it's probably also another man's trash, but you know.
Probably still trash, but slightly more admired trash.
Yeah. Well, that's it for Comes Naturally this week. We are
Joe,
Mike,
and I'm Cody. And as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.